Nick, do not stand of this side. C'est quoi? Bon, il suffit de fermer les portes
Now
devant.
listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Through the red door. Est-ce que j'ai vraiment envie de passer là?
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood.
Oui, mais TP.
Stanley walked through the red door.
Non. C'est moi qui
I
décide.
still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked... All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see?
What the fuck?
I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you?
Comme attaque, là, je suis rendu comme dans les endroits.
You think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Je prends quelle porte, là? La nouvelle?
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Please rate your experience 1 to 5. Bah, on va dire 4, là. On va pas peser. Ah, comme ça.
Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Clearly there's something here that speaks to you. If I can be honest here, I really don't have any idea where I'm going with this. This whole third door thing was just a stab in the dark. But I guess you're into it, so let's keep this party train rolling. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
What the? Stanley Parbour Worldwide Leaderboard. Oh, il y a O'Neill! Il y avait O'Neill, je te jure. Pourquoi je m'entends double, là?
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Bon, c'est bon, laissez-moi
In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right.
Pourquoi il y a bébé William, là?
Reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Qu'est-ce que merde? C'est quoi brûle, man?
You heartless bastard. Did you purely to spite me? If it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. It's
Ah non, je vais
over.
laisser brûler, là.
Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a
Pendant
shot.
4 heures, man, what the fuck, t'es malade? What the...
Aha! Fascinating.
What the
What do you
fuck?
think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me
What
that you're
the
meant to
fuck?
play as a creepy man, spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower. Perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic
Non, c'est le jeu
purpose.
que t'as regardé Firewatch.
Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more.
Je suis dans une tour
Come,
de...
let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Hey, ça fait le bruit de Minecraft, ça. Ouais, les gens sataniques, là, qui font des cercles.
Oh no.
Non, c'est pas ce jeu-là.
No, it can't be.
Sûrement.
It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly
John Z.
block it
Lake.
off.
John Z. Lake? What the...
Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find
John Z.
another
Lake.
game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
Oh, non, chier.
Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
What the... Pourquoi je suis dans Rocket League?
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design.
Je suis dans
If you
Rocket
manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
League. What? Dieu, qu'est-ce que tu fais?
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we
Mon Dieu.
must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Moi, c'est pas si la balle. Pas de balle. Ah oui, là. Allez. Ah!
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes
Brisette,
ball.
backflip, hein. Brisette.
Yes.
Pinch.
Oh goodness, that really does
Merde,
feel
j'ai raté mon pinch.
amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls.
Encore des balles. Wesh! Des balles, let's go. C'est le meilleur jeu du monde, man. Ah, j'ai eu un
Are you
trophée.
enjoying this, Stanley? Are you having fun? Is this a real video game? Well, I sure hope you're having a good time, because guess what? It's over. That's right. Your little fun comes to an end. This is my game, and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley. Besides, you need someone like me to set boundaries for you. Without rules or boundaries, video games are nothing. Yes, that's what I am. I'm structure. I'm your sense of purpose. And since you decided you didn't want to play my game, now I don't want to play with you either. So, goodbye, Stanley. I'm leaving. See how you like it when I'm not around to set the rules. Somehow, I don't think you'll enjoy it as much. But who knows? You're an inventive kid. You'll come up with something. After all, you're the one who knows best. Take care, Stanley.
Je vais pas me laisser ici. C'est ça que je voulais faire.
Hold on. What are you doing? Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Wesh. Je suis hors du narrateur. J'ai ça, mais je suis pas du narrateur. C'est ça. Je suis sûrement encore plus dans les ténèbres. Non, je suis dans les backrooms, là. Pam, 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 pam. Pa-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Pam, 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 pam. Ça commence à faire flipper, hein. C'est quoi ça? 423. What the... Essaie de remonter dans... Quoi ça, mais cet endroit? Qu'est-ce que cet endroit scientifique bizarre, là? Oh,
I wonder what he found.
je me
If
demande
what
ce
he
que...
wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then
Spécial.
I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Bon, pourquoi je suis dans les ténèbres, là? Ah, c'est bon. Oh! Ah, recommencer! I hate Monday. Pourquoi je vois... Est-ce qu'on voit les trophées? On se finit une fin. Oh.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
C'est bon, on va pas le faire, j'ai la flemme.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Je ferai une prochaine fois. What the...
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Loading!
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred
plein de
to him?
possibilités. Si on
This
descend les escaliers,
question
se passe
would
quoi?
not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape ou Mind... Est-ce qu'on termine... Comment dire? Escape ou Mind Control Facility? Le... Ça on a tout notre temps.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Ouais, je sais qui lui là. Pourquoi c'est bugué son écran? Peut-être la...
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
127, 127, 427. Ah, j'ai trouvé il là.
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
J'aurais préféré le sang.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Mind control either awaiting input.
just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself? Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes.
Dans 2 minutes, tu vas avoir une bombe nucléaire.
Things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me.
Qu'est-ce que j'ai avec ça explose?
What all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine and set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone.
M'enfuis.
Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds.
Je peux pas appuyer sur off. J'ai dit qu'il y avait une bombe nucléaire là qui allait se pop. Hein. À cause que j'ai suivi le dude là, j'ai appuyé sur on l'ordinateur. Une bombe nucléaire qui start. Bon, moi je veux que ça explose. Hein.
Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler.
Numéro 4.
That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble.
42 secondes.
Challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't.
J'appuie sur 1, 2, 3, 4, là il me reste plus que le bouton 5, on va voir qu'est-ce que ça fait.
That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle.
Wesh!
30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here. Just
ça marche pas les boutons.
pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count.
Peut-être le bouton off c'est 6.
It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke.
Non! Il reste 8
I will
secondes!
be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say
Adieu.
happily ever after.
Plus jamais je suis ce gros con, man. Ah là j'ai suivi, il y avait un escalier. Là au lieu de monter, je vais descendre, voir ce que ça fait. Ah, je retourne au début. Bon, c'est parti.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh, je regarde. What? New content. Wait 2 secondes.
Oh, new content? What does that mean? new content.
Juste la porte se ferme, parce que je passais l'autre bord. Je peux pas passer l'autre bord?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please
New content.
step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
J'ai même pas fini la première, même.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Oh!
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, here we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if them... Oh, let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Give me the content! Allez! Ah! The jumping circle, ça doit être donc ben plate, man.
Let's see, it's... The jump circle?
X pour sauter. Wow, new content! Brand new content! Attends, est-ce que je peux sauter Alt? C'est new content! Oh, j'ai plus saut de restant. Ah! Je vais sauter, moi.
Is that it?
C'est ça, une brand new content?
Not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping.
On peut juste sauter dans le cercle.
For exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box.
C'est palpitant.
Ultra Deluxe.
C'est que c'est plus palpitant que de voir de l'école.
Oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Thank you for enjoying the new content.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's trophies, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test trophy, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations.
Arrête.
If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no
Ouais, pas de new
gimmicks.
content de
Just
mal,
you
là.
and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Yan. Yan. Attends, mais j'ai plein de possibilités. What the... Un autre endroit. Bah, il y a...
Stanley, come over here. In the vent.
Je vais pas t'en
I want to show
conduire.
you something. Oh, you don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine.
Non, je peux
You're a
savoir.
dork anyway, so who cares?
On va les couilles, frère.
When Stanley
Non, mais j'ai des
came
trucs à
to a set
découvrir,
of
là.
2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Mais je m'en bats les couilles, frère. Il y a plein de trucs à découvrir. Je descends de l'escalier, qu'est-ce qui se passe? Ou qu'est-ce qui se passe quand je saute pas de la flotte d'ascenseur? Prends l'escalier. Bah, Yann, Yann. Bra, 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 bra.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling away
Bra,
and
bra,
distantly,
bra, Yann,
Stanley
bra, bra,
decided to
bra,
go
bra.
up
Ah,
to
qu'est-ce que
his
c'est là?
boss's
C'est pour ça que
office.
j'ai monté les
Hoping
escaliers,
in
mais qu'est-ce que ça
coming
fait
to
si
a
je descends les
staircase,
escaliers?
Stanley walked upstairs
What
to his
the-
boss's office.
Toi, je vais monter les escaliers, mais là, je descends, qu'est-ce que ça fait?
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive
No.
economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of
ouais,
existence
je pense
in a
que c'est ça.
single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any
Ah!
logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too
Bra,
strange. This
bra,
can't be
bra,
real. And
bra.
at last, he came to the conclusion
Ouais,
that
puis il y a des
it
salles qui ont
was on
changé
the
de
tip of his
position.
tongue. He just hadn't found the
Bra,
words for it.
Yann, Yann,
I'm
Yann, bra, 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 bra,
he
Yann.
yelled. This is all a dream. Oh,
Je pense qu'on est fini.
relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an
Pour les gens par
explanation.
là, s'ils
His
buggent les back row.
co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself,
Yo, il
I
donne des coups de
suppose
pied
I'll
dans les
wake up
murs.
soon.
Oh,
I'll
je suis
go
bon.
back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
What the...
Then he
Moi, je
imagined
flotte,
himself
là.
soaring through space on a magical
Oui, je flottais.
starfield, and it
Coffee
too
nut.
appeared. It was so
What
much
the...
fun. And
Il est Spirit
Stanley
Orb, Will,
marveled
d'incarner
that he'd
Spirit
still
Orb.
not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if
Ah,
he's
pourtant
asleep, he
double.
doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice
je pense.
explain all that? This
Ah, les
voice
mirages
was a
kits.
part of
Bravo, Will,
himself
tu peux
too.
racheter.
Surely, if he could just... He would prove it.
Je me la
He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream.
Non, je peux pas prendre une
So
canette,
he
là.
closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake
What the...
up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a
Bra,
world
bra,
outside this
Yann. Bra, 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 bra,
Let
bra,
me
Yann,
wake
Yann.
up,
Bra,
he thought to
bra,
himself.
Yann. Bra, bra,
I'm
bra,
through with
Yann.
this
Bra,
dream.
Yann.
I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me
Puis
continue
là, tu vois, genre
pushing the
Brian,
buttons.
la tête de Brian, tu sais,
Please.
Brian, normalement dans la vraie vie,
It's
là,
all
faire
I want.
genre marcher comme
I want my
un
apartment
segment, genre,
and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine.
Tout va
I
s'arranger.
am
I
okay.
am Iron Man. Bon, je continue à marcher, hein.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just
Ouais, je suis un
someone
monstre.
tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Bon, laisse-moi passer. Pourquoi
This is
quitter
the
mes bureaux?
story of a woman named Mariella.
Pourquoi ta femme m'appelait Mariella?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and
What
walked
the?
to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. Then she remembered the
Manuel
meeting she had
Chamberlain.
scheduled for that day. The very
Manuel
important people
Chamberlain.
whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
C'est nice, ça. Je prends votre conduit.
Come over here. Oh.
Parce que j'ai un autre point à faire. Non, il y a un autre endroit à aller encore. Tu sais, quand je suis pas, qu'est-ce qu'il me dit? Il y a comme un ascenseur. Tantôt, j'ai sauté, mais là, je vais pas sauter.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was
Quoi?
not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire
J'irai
it.
après celle-là.
Wow. Yes. This room.
Mais il y a
But eager to
d'autres
get
trucs
back
vont
to
apparaître.
business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Ah, il y a encore un truc ici. Oh, mais non, non, ça disait pour revenir dans la salle de. Ouais. Ouais, non.
Stanley was so bad at following
Non, mais ici, il y a un autre
directions, it's
truc là.
incredible he wasn't
Tantôt,
5 years
j'ai
ago.
drop ici sur la passerelle. Là, je vais pas aller sur la passerelle.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. I'm not asking for me.
Brian.
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself.
What? Ah ouais, il y a un trou là.
Put your work aside.
Ah, ben faudrait que je recommence à aller
Back
ici
into
encore.
your life. She's been
Il y a
waiting.
tellement de trucs à faire, man, c'est abusé. Il y a un trou là-bas, là, à aller. Check. Comment on fait pour y aller déjà? La prochaine fois, quand c'est? Ça prend des jours, genre? Ah, ok. Ouais, chez le Void, hein.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right.
Quasiment.
Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something.
Faut pas
Come
bouger.
inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Ok.
Sorry, but you're in my story now. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Employé 427, appuyez sur le triangle sur votre manette. Et si j'ai pas envie, hein? Hein? C'est bon, me barrer, man. Bon. Ouais, un divan, mec, c'est quand même mini ta maison, man.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
name is Money.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be?
Ça devient de plus en plus mon bureau, en fait, ma
All he's
chambre.
doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Ouais.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose.
Manuel,
I'll try once more to convey all this to
Manuel
him.
chant.
I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps. Well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button.
Quand ça veuillez mourir, hein? The fuck you
And
mean?
Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Chaise, Ben, chaise. Karma, c'est le karma, Ben. C'est le karma, Ben. C'est le karma, Ben. Chaise.
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something! Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look. I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
The Memory Zone.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap PlayStation port? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Apparemment. Stanley Parable. British Academy of Film and Television Arts Development Team nominee British Academy Award Stanley Parable Game Innovation British Academy. Oh non! C'est lui. C'est un mémorial, hein. In Loving Memory pour le petit hamster.
C'est là, dans la mémorisation, où je me remémore les jours.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Voilà.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. All they had to do was transport it in pristine condition along to the PlayStation. Boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling with a beloved franchise. These were simpler times, Stanley. What I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before.
Wesh,
What's
dark.
this? What's down here? Oh no, oh God, no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them. Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Oh dear.
Non, il
What
paye avec un
an
document
awful
Word.
memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you for... Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of...
I managed to do skip button.
You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes. Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, the end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Vibre-moi la nuit. All I want for Christmas. Je sais pas.